My name is Faith Ingram, and I was 34 years old when my sister erased me from a family vacation and replaced my boarding pass with two frightened children. At 6:07 that morning, I stood beneath the departure board at Logan Airport while an airline agent stared at her screen, then at me, with the cautious expression people use before delivering news that might change somebody's life. "Miss Ingram," she said, "your ticket was canceled by the person who made the reservation." I blinked at her. That has to be a mistake. My mother, my sister, her husband, and the twins are all on the same booking. The agent typed again. Her mouth tightened. The rest of the party checked in. Their flight left the gate 12 minutes ago. For a second, the airport seemed to lose its sound. Thousands of people moved around me, dragging suitcases, buying coffee, calling rides, living ordinary mornings. I stood perfectly still, holding a passport I no longer needed. Then my phone chimed. One message from Patricia. "You should be taking care of the kids." Underneath was a photograph. Sadie and Quinn, my 7-year-old twin nieces, sat alone beside gate C-19. Their purple backpacks were pressed against their chests. Sadie was staring directly at the camera, trying to look brave. Quinn's thumb was in her mouth, a habit she had stopped 2 years earlier. No adult appeared anywhere in the frame. I called Patricia, straight to voicemail. I called Derek, voicemail. I called my mother, Judith. Her phone was off. Before I could decide whether to run toward security or demand another ticket, the loudspeaker announced my full name and instructed me to report to the airport police office on the lower level. That was when fear stopped being a thought and became something physical. My hands went numb. The police office smelled of old coffee, wet coats, and disinfectant. Sadie was talking rapidly to a uniformed officer, explaining every detail from the color of their mother's suitcase to the exact number of crackers Quinn had eaten. Sadie narrated whenever she was terrified. Quinn said nothing. The instant she saw me, she launched herself across the room and wrapped both arms around my waist. Her grip was so tight that I could feel her shaking through my coat. An airline supervisor handed me a clear evidence sleeve containing a folded sheet of hotel stationery. Patricia's handwriting covered 6 words. Their aunt, Faith Ingram, will collect them. My phone number was written underneath. The officer explained that a gate employee had found the girls after boarding closed. Patricia had told them to sit quietly because Aunt Faith was coming. Then, she, Derek, and my mother had boarded without them. Where was their flight going? I asked. Miami first, the supervisor said carefully. First? She hesitated, then turned her monitor toward herself. There was an international connection. My stomach dropped. The trip Patricia sold us was 10 days in Orlando, a rented house, theme parks, a pool, matching family photographs she had already planned for social media. She had insisted on booking everything herself and laughed when I offered to pay for my own seat. International had never been mentioned. The officer asked whether I was willing to take temporary responsibility for the children. Temporary. It sounded like a small word until I looked down at Quinn's fingers twisted into my sleeve. I signed every form they placed in front of me. I gave a statement. I answered questions I barely understood. Then I took my nieces home in a taxi, while my packed suitcase for Florida rode beside us, like evidence from another woman's life. Neither girl cried in the car. That frightened me more. Sadie asked whether their mother's plane would turn around. I told her I did not know. Quinn watched the city through the window and held my hand with both of hers. At my condo in Dorchester, I made grilled cheese sandwiches neither child touched. I called Patricia 19 times. I called Derek 11. I left messages that changed from confused to angry to frightened. No one answered. At 2:14 that afternoon, Patricia posted a photograph online. She and Derek stood beneath palm trees, smiling beside turquoise water. My mother was not in the picture. Patricia wore white linen and oversized sunglasses. Her caption read, "Sometimes protecting your peace means choosing yourself." Nearly 3,000 people had liked it within an hour. I stared at the screen until Sadie appeared beside me. "Is Mommy having fun?" I locked the phone. "I don't know, sweetheart. She said you wanted us." The sentence landed harder than the canceled ticket. I crouched until we were eye level. "I want you safe." "That isn't what I asked." 7-year-olds can find the exact wound adults spend years avoiding. Before I could answer, Quinn walked toward my front door, removed her purple backpack, and placed it upright beside the wall. She opened it and checked the contents: pajamas, a toothbrush, a juice box, and a stuffed rabbit with one ear bent. Then Sadie placed her backpack beside it. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Keeping everything ready," she said, "so we can leave when Mom tells us where she is." That night, I pushed the two beds in my guest room together because Quinn refused to sleep unless she could touch her sister's hand. I left the hallway light on. I sat outside their door, listening to their breathing, while my own future waited unopened in an email. In 71 days, I was supposed to move to Seattle and begin the pediatric nurse practitioner program I had spent 6 years earning. By midnight, the girls were sleeping. Patricia was somewhere beyond the country. My mother was unreachable. And beside my front door, 2 purple backpacks stood packed for a rescue that was never coming. I did not know then that those bags would stay there for 8 months, or the price Patricia would demand later. Morning arrived without sleep. At 5:30, my alarm went off for a hospital shift I had forgotten to cancel. I stared at the ceiling while Quinn breathed unevenly across the hall, and Sadie whispered in her sleep. Then I called Dana. Dana Mercer had been my charge nurse for 6 years and my friend for almost as long. She answered on the second ring. "Who died?" "No one." "That is not how you sound." I told her everything: the canceled ticket, airport police, the international connection, the photograph, the backpacks by my door. Dana was silent for 3 seconds. "I'm taking you off the schedule," she said. "I can still come in." "Faith, you have 2 abandoned children in your guest room. They're my nieces. That does not make them less abandoned." I pressed my fingers against my eyes. "I don't know what happens next. Then today, you find out. Work will survive without you. Your sister built her life around the assumption that you won't." Before I could argue, Dana hung up and texted me the hospital social worker's number. By 7, Sadie was dressed in yesterday's clothes and standing beside the front door. "Mom said we shouldn't unpack," she explained. Quinn appeared behind her, dragging the stuffed rabbit by one ear. "I told them we were going to Patricia's house for clothes." Sadie immediately lifted both backpacks. "You can leave those here." Her face changed. Her mouth simply became smaller, and her hands tightened around the straps. "What if she comes while we're gone?" I looked at the child who had been trained to believe adults disappeared whenever she stopped watching. "We'll leave a note," I said. So I wrote one and taped it at eye level. "Sadie and Quinn are with Aunt Faith. Call me immediately." Sadie read it twice before agreeing to leave. Patricia's house in Weston sat behind white columns and a hedge trimmed so evenly it looked artificial. She called it the Hale House online, as if a home needed branding. I used the spare key beneath a $40 fake rock. Inside, everything looked camera-ready. Cream pillows stood upright. A bowl of lemons glowed on the island. White flowers had begun browning at the edges, but from a distance they looked perfect. The girls ran upstairs. I stayed in the kitchen and noticed the mail. It covered half the counter. Past due notices, collection warnings, a mortgage letter marked urgent, a credit card statement with a balance of $86,417, another envelope from a private lender. I told myself not to open anything. Then I saw my mother's name, Faith Ingram. The envelope was addressed to Patricia, but the reference line listed my mother's house in Quincy. I photographed it without touching it. Upstairs, Sadie called my name. Patricia's closet was not vacation empty, it was departure empty. The summer dresses were gone. So were winter coats, boots, jewelry cases, and the designer suitcases she claimed were too beautiful to check. Derek's side was nearly bare. The office safe stood open with keys inside, but the twins' bedroom was untouched. School uniforms hung in order. Toothbrushes stood in a whale-shaped cup. Library books waited on the desk. Sadie's soccer trophy was dusty where she had left it. Every adult belonging worth taking had disappeared. The children's things remained. Quinn sat beside her bed. "Mom forgot Bunny's blue blanket." I knelt beside her. "She forgot a lot." The words escaped before I could soften them. Quinn looked at me, and I hated putting adult truth into a child's hands. "We'll bring the blanket," I said, "and anything else you want." Sadie had opened Patricia's bedside drawer. Inside was a folder containing passports, birth certificates, and 2 signed medical authorization forms naming me as emergency caregiver. The forms were dated 3 weeks earlier. My breath stopped. This had not been decided at the airport. Patricia had prepared for it. She had named me before canceling my ticket, before photographing her daughters alone, before telling them I wanted them. Behind the forms was an itinerary: Boston to Miami, Miami to St. Lucia, 4 one-way adult tickets. Patricia, Derek, Judith, and Caleb Voss listed as business consultant. No return flights. I photographed every page, then called airport police. The officer remembered my name. He told me not to remove the documents and said someone would contact me. While I was on the phone, Sadie stood in the doorway holding a framed family photograph. It showed Patricia and Derek between the twins on a beach. Everyone wore white. Everyone smiled. "Can we take this?" I almost said no. Instead, I wrapped it in a sweater and placed it in her suitcase. Children should be allowed to keep evidence of the life they thought they had. We packed 3 suitcases. On the way out, I noticed a county notice behind the wreath. Foreclosure proceedings had begun 2 weeks before the trip. Patricia had posted beach countdown videos while the bank prepared to take her house. I drove home gripping the steering wheel until my wrists hurt. At 11:46, my mother called. Her voice was low and frightened. "Faith, listen before you get angry. Where are you?" "In Miami." "Where is Patricia?" A pause. "Gone." "Gone where?" "She and Derek boarded another flight. They told me you agreed to keep the girls." I pulled over. "Mom, they left 7-year-olds at an airport." She said there was a misunderstanding. There were legal forms signed 3 weeks ago. Silence. She promised she would return after speaking to Patricia, but I heard airport announcements behind her and knew she was arranging a rescue for the daughter who had abandoned 2 children. Even then, my mother's instinct was to follow Patricia, not protect them. Then my mother whispered the sentence that explained our family. "You've always been better with difficult things." I looked at the purple backpacks by my door when I got home. For the first time I understood they were not luggage. They were instructions. My mother came home 2 days later. She looked exhausted, but not surprised. That distinction mattered. I made coffee while Sadie and Quinn colored at the kitchen table. My mother kept glancing toward them as if she expected Patricia to walk in and explain everything. "She panicked," Mom said. "People do terrible things when they panic." She prepared medical forms 3 weeks ago. She was under pressure. She bought one-way tickets. Derek handled travel. She left her daughters at a gate. Mom's face folded. "Keep your voice down." I looked toward the girls. Sadie had stopped coloring. That was how our family survived Patricia. We lowered our voices until the truth became too quiet to disturb her. I carried the coffee into the living room. Mom followed. "What happened in Miami?" I asked. She wrapped both hands around her cup. "Patricia told me you had agreed to take the girls. She said Seattle had been postponed." "I never said that." "I know that now." "When did you know?" Mom stared into the coffee. "When we landed." Derek took Patricia toward international departures. I asked where the twins were. Patricia said you wanted a chance to practice being a mother. The cruelty of that sentence was so precise that I almost admired its construction. Patricia knew exactly where to cut. I had never married. I had no children. In our family, that meant every hour I owned was available inventory. "What did you do?" I asked. "I followed them." "Why?" "Because she was crying." I laughed once, without humor. "The girls were alone in an airport, and you followed Patricia because she was crying?" Mom flinched. "I thought you had them." "She knew you would." That was the first time my mother looked directly at me. Not at the strong daughter, not at the useful daughter, at me. For half a second, shame crossed her face. Then the old machinery restarted. "She is still your sister, and they are still her children." Sadie appeared in the doorway. "Grandma, did Mom say when she is coming back?" My mother opened her arms. Sadie did not move. Mom lowered them. "No, sweetheart." "Did she ask if Quinn cried?" Mom's lips parted. Sadie nodded before she answered. "She didn't." Then she went back to the table. My mother stayed another 20 minutes. Before leaving, she touched the purple backpacks beside the door. Why are these here? So they are ready when their mother comes back. Mom's hand jerked away as if the fabric were hot. That afternoon, a caseworker named Marisol Vega arrived from the Department of Children and Families. She wore sensible shoes and carried a folder thick with papers. The airport report had triggered an abandonment investigation. She inspected my condo, measured the bedroom, checked the refrigerator, and asked questions. Did Patricia have substance problems? Had Derek ever been violent? Were the twins usually left with me? Did either parent have access to weapons? Did I intend to keep the children temporarily? Every answer felt like stepping onto a bridge. I intend to keep them safe, I said. Marisol watched Quinn arrange cereal pieces by color. Safety becomes a schedule very quickly. She explained emergency kinship placement, medical authority, school enrollment, background checks, and a court hearing. Then she asked about my work. I'm a pediatric nurse. That helps. I work nights. That complicates things. I can change shifts. That helps again. She looked around the condo. Do you have family support? My mother's words echoed in my head. You've always been better with difficult things. No, I said. It was the first honest answer I had given about my family. Marisol closed her folder. One more question. Has anyone contacted you about Patricia or Derek's finances? No. If they do, save everything. Texts, emails, receipts, photographs. Do not delete anything, even if it feels cruel. Why would finances matter in a custody case? Her expression changed. That depends on what they were running from. After she left, I opened a notebook. Nurses chart because memory becomes unreliable under stress. Dates do not. I wrote June 14 across the first page. Ticket canceled. Children located by airport security. Handwritten note. International itinerary. One-way tickets. Medical forms prepared 3 weeks earlier. No contact regarding children. I added the time of Patricia's beach post. Then I recorded what Sadie had eaten, how long Quinn slept, and that both girls startled when the elevator doors opened. I did not know I was building evidence. I thought I was keeping myself from drowning. That night, Quinn woke screaming. Not crying, screaming. I found her standing in the hallway, eyes open but unfocused. Mom forgot us, she said. I knelt and held her shoulders. No one here is forgetting you. She searched my face. Promise? The word frightened me. Promises were Patricia's favorite currency because she never had to keep them long enough to spend anything. I promise I will tell you the truth, I said, even when I don't know the answer. Quinn considered this, then nodded. It was not the promise she wanted. It was the only one I trusted myself to make. At 1:17 a.m., my phone lit up. A message from an unknown international number. Send the girls' passports. Do not involve police. You are making this dramatic. No greeting. No question about Sadie or Quinn. No explanation. I forwarded it to Marisol, the airport officer, and a legal aid address Dana had found. Then I replied with 4 words. Tell me where you are. The message showed as read. No answer came. 5 minutes later, Patricia posted a photograph of an infinity pool under a Caribbean sunset. Family is not always blood, the caption said. Sometimes family is who supports your freedom. I stood beside the purple backpacks and felt something inside me become still. Patricia believed I was holding her life together. She did not understand that I had started documenting, one dated line daily, exactly how she tore it apart. The first court hearing was scheduled for 12 days later. By then, my condo no longer looked like mine. 2 booster seats occupied the kitchen chairs. Crayon drawings covered the refrigerator. Small socks appeared in places socks had no business being. The purple backpacks remained beside the door, untouched except for Sunday evenings, when Sadie unpacked and repacked them with the concentration of a soldier checking supplies. Every Sunday, she replaced the juice boxes. Every Sunday, Quinn watched. Neither girl asked whether Patricia had called. That was worse than asking. Dana moved me to day shifts and bullied 3 coworkers into trading weekends. She called it temporary. I pretended to believe her. At the hospital, I could calm frightened parents, calculate medication dosages, and recognize respiratory distress from the doorway. At home, I had no idea what to say when Quinn refused to bathe because Patricia had once told her she could drown in 6 inches of water. So I sat on the bathroom floor, with my sleeves rolled up, and let her wash one arm at a time. Progress became small enough to fit inside a teaspoon. The guardianship hearing took place in a courtroom with beige walls and a clock that ticked louder than anyone spoke. My lawyer was Ruth Alcott, a compact woman with silver hair and no patience for comforting lies. Temporary guardianship gives you authority, she told me beforehand. It does not give you certainty. Marisol submitted the airport report, Patricia's note, the prepared medical forms, and photographs from the Weston house. The judge read everything without expression. Then she looked over her glasses. Miss Ingram, you are unmarried, employed full-time, and preparing to relocate across the country. My stomach tightened. Ruth had advised honesty. Yes, Your Honor. Do you still intend to move? I could feel the Seattle acceptance letter folded inside my purse. I don't know. The judge glanced toward the girls, who sat behind me with my mother. Sadie was whispering facts about courtrooms to Quinn, most of them invented. Children cannot live inside I don't know for long, the judge said. I understand. Do you? The question followed me even after she signed the order. 90 days of temporary guardianship. Authority to enroll them in school, approve medical care, and keep them in my home. 90 days sounded generous until I remembered Seattle started in '61. Outside the courthouse, Mom hugged me. You did the right thing. I stepped back. I did the necessary thing. She looked hurt, but I was learning that other people's discomfort did not always mean I had done something wrong. Ruth called that evening. Federal investigators may contact you. I stopped unloading groceries. About Derek? And Patricia. The next morning, 2 agents arrived at my kitchen table. Agent Whitfield was older, careful, and soft-spoken. His partner, Agent Chen, asked questions quickly enough to make silence feel suspicious. They wanted to know about Hale Coastal Partners, Derek's investment company. I told them Derek had tried to recruit me 2 years earlier. He promised 14% annual returns from luxury coastal rentals. I had asked for audited statements. He laughed. Patricia called me joyless. My mother told me not to embarrass family. Whitfield's pen paused. Did Judith invest? I don't know, but I remembered the envelope on Patricia's counter, my mother's name, her house, the reference number. After the agents left, I drove to Quincy. Mom opened the door, wearing my father's old cardigan. I showed her the photograph of the envelope. Her face collapsed before she spoke. How much? I asked. She sat down slowly. 180,000. The room tilted. Her house had been paid off since my father died. She had borrowed against it and wired the money to Derek's company. Why didn't you tell me? Patricia said you would interfere. I warned you his returns were impossible. She said you were jealous. Of fraud? Mom began crying. I wanted to comfort her. That instinct was older than anger. Instead, I asked for every statement, email, and receipt. She looked at me like I had become cruel. Then I realized she was waiting for the daughter who cleaned up disasters without naming who caused them. She knew, I said. Patricia knew you invested. Mom covered her mouth. For the first time, the golden daughter and the frightened mother existed in the same story. I took the documents home. That night, Sadie asked why Grandma was sad. Because she trusted someone who lied to her. Mom? I did not answer quickly enough. Sadie looked toward the backpacks. She lies when she wants something. Children notice family patterns long before adults admit them. At 10:43, an email arrived from Seattle. Final confirmation required by August 1st. The program director wrote that my seat could not be held beyond the deadline. I opened the calendar. 38 days. Down the hall, Quinn cried out. I found her sitting upright, searching the dark. You're here, she whispered. I'm here. Mua. She lay down again but kept hold of my wrist. I sat beside the bed until sunrise, the Seattle deadline glowing on my phone and Patricia's silence pressing against every wall. For 6 years, I had saved for a future where nobody could volunteer my life without asking. Now 2 children needed me to volunteer it myself, and I still could not tell whether choosing them would finally free me from my family's pattern or complete it. Before dawn, Sadie appeared in the doorway, carrying the backpacks. She set Quinn's beside the bed and placed hers at my feet. Can we stay until you decide? She asked. The question broke something inside me. You can stay as long as you need. That's not the same. No, I admitted. It isn't. She studied me, then climbed onto the mattress beside her sister. I watched them sleep while morning filled the room, knowing that uncertainty would become another way of leaving. On the first Monday of August, I woke before the alarm and opened the Seattle email. The deadline was that night. Outside, rain tapped the windows. Inside, Sadie slept with one hand beneath her cheek, while Quinn faced the wall, her fingers curled around the rabbit's bent ear. I made coffee and read the acceptance letter again. Congratulations. 6 years of savings, a place in the pediatric nurse practitioner program, a job pathway waiting on the other side. At 6:12, I opened the confirmation page. At 6:13, Quinn screamed. I reached the bedroom before she was fully awake. She kicked at the blankets and cried that the gate agent was calling her name, but Aunt Faith had gone. I'm here, I said. She grabbed my shirt. Don't go where Mom went. The confirmation page remained open until the laptop went dark. That afternoon, the summer program called the hospital. There had been an incident. A boy had told the twins that his mother said Patricia was a thief. Sadie punched him. Quinn disappeared. They found her 2 hours later beneath the lowest shelf in a coat closet, folded into herself with both hands covering her ears. Sadie sat outside the director's office with an ice pack pressed to her knuckles. He said Mom left because we were bad, she told me. I signed the form. We will discuss hitting, I said. We will also discuss adults teaching children rumors as facts. In the car, neither twin spoke. Then Sadie broke. Why didn't she take us? She shouted. We are small. We fit in airplanes. I pulled over and climbed into the back seat. Quinn pressed her face into my shoulder. Sadie fought me for several seconds before collapsing against us. I had held hundreds of frightened children during 11 years in pediatrics. I knew how to control my breathing, how to keep my voice low, how to make my body feel steady when theirs could not. But I had never held children who were asking why their mother had found luggage more valuable than them. I don't know why she made that choice, I said. But it was not because of anything you did. Sadie looked up. Would you have taken us? The answer came before fear could edit it. Yes. That night, after tacos and baths and the mouse with the motorcycle, I opened the Seattle page again. The cursor blinked in the confirmation box. I thought about the judge saying children could not live inside uncertainty. I thought about every time Patricia had handed me a responsibility and called it love. Being volunteered and choosing were not the same thing. I typed 4 sentences to the program director. I thanked her for the opportunity. I withdrew. I asked that my seat be offered immediately to someone on the waiting list. Then I pressed send at 11:41 p.m., 19 minutes before the deadline. A car passed outside with its windows down. I lost the $2,500 deposit by morning. I also lost the version of myself who had measured freedom only by distance from my family. 3 days later, Dana found out. She cornered me beside the medication room. You did not even let me argue. I could not survive being praised or blamed for it. You earned that seat. I know. You wanted Seattle. I still do. Her anger softened. Then why? I looked through the glass at a father sleeping upright beside his son's hospital bed. Because wanting something does not make it the only life worth choosing. Dana studied me, then said she was bringing casserole Sunday, and I could not stop her. The girls began school in September. Quinn spoke only when necessary. Sadie spoke enough for both of them. Every morning they checked the purple backpacks before leaving. Every afternoon they returned and glanced toward the door. Patricia still had not asked about school, therapy, or whether Quinn had started talking again. On day 44, she sent a voice message. Faith, do not be difficult. FedEx the girls' passports to the address I'm sending. It is beautiful here. They will love it. You are making this much bigger than it is. Ice clinked behind her voice. 44 days without asking whether her daughters slept. Her first request was for documents. I forwarded the message to Ruth, Marisol, and Agent Whitfield. Then I replied with one word. No. I had never told Patricia no in 34 years. The word felt strange, then clean. Within 3 hours, she posted a long statement about jealous relatives, controlling women, and family members who punish courage because they are afraid to live. 200,000 strangers told her she was brave. Ruth advised me to mute the account, but preserve every post. The following afternoon, she called me into her office. A letter waited on her desk from a Boston law firm. Patricia and Derek formally objected to any extension of guardianship. The airport abandonment was described as an informal child care arrangement between sisters. I read the phrase twice. Quinn's thumb in her mouth. Sadie's bags packed by the door. A handwritten note left with airline staff. Informal childcare. They are not returning, I said. No, Ruth answered. They are preserving control. Why? Because the girls may become useful. The sentence turned my stomach. Ruth tapped the letter. Save this. It proves Patricia knows where her children are. It proves she has known for months. And it proves she chose not to return. I placed the letter in my notebook beside the Seattle withdrawal email. One documented what I had surrendered, the other documented what Patricia refused to surrender. That evening, Sadie replaced the juice boxes in both backpacks. Mom might come when we are at school, she said. I watched her zip the bags. For the first time, I understood that hope could become another form of captivity. And I began wondering whether protecting the girls would eventually require me to close the door their mother had left open. September settled into routines that almost felt permanent. Breakfast at 6:30, school drop-off at 7:40, therapy on Thursdays, homework at the kitchen table, baths negotiated like treaties, 2 beds touching beneath the same window. Quinn began speaking in short sentences again, not many, but enough. One evening, our neighbor's orange cat appeared on the stoop. Quinn crouched beside him and whispered, "We live here now." I went inside and cried into a dish towel with the faucet running. Then I wrote the sentence in my notebook. Progress deserved dates too. Sadie's teacher sent home a note describing her as a natural leader. Dana said that was educational language for bossy. Sadie insisted it meant future president. I framed the note. The purple backpacks remained by the door. They were less full now. The girls had started leaving school books on their desks and pajamas in drawers. But every Sunday, Sadie still packed the rabbit and 2 juice boxes. Healing, I learned, could move forward while fear stood perfectly still. On September 17th, the Weston house went to auction. A local reporter photographed the foreclosure notice beside Patricia's fake lawn rock. By noon, my phone was filled with calls from numbers I did not recognize. I answered none of them. At 2:18, Agent Whitfield called. The indictment will be unsealed Thursday, he said. Is Patricia named? Mia. A pause. Yes. I sat down. Hale Coastal Partners had never purchased most of the properties shown in its brochures. New investor money paid fabricated returns to earlier investors. The rest funded luxury cars, Patricia's social media brand, international travel, and the house now being sold beneath a bank notice. Derek faced wire fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy charges. Patricia was listed as a promoter and authorized signer. For months, she had told everyone she knew nothing about Derek's finances. She had signed transfers, she had approved payments, she had filmed videos calling investors family while her own mother's retirement disappeared into the account. The public complaint named victims, retired teachers, neighbors, members of my mother's church. Judith Ingram, $180,000. I drove to Quincy after work. Mom sat in front of the television with the sound muted. A reporter stood outside Patricia's house, gesturing toward shuttered windows. She knew, Mom said before I spoke. No defense, no panic. No reminder that Patricia was my sister. Just the truth, finally heavy enough to sit between us. I turned off the television. Mom stared at the blank screen. I keep waiting for her to call and explain. She has had months. I thought she was protecting me from worry. She was protecting herself from questions. My mother nodded once. It was the smallest surrender I had ever seen. That night, Patricia's account went dark. No photographs, no captions, no declarations about freedom. For the first time in years, she had no audience. 3 weeks later, a voice message arrived from an international number. Her voice no longer carried sunshine. Faith, I need $4,000. Immediately. Do not tell Mom. The accounts are frozen because Derek made mistakes, and I am trying to fix things. I know you have savings. You always have savings. She inhaled sharply. This is for the girls. Their mother cannot be seen begging. Think about what that does to their name. I listened twice. Not how are they, Not do they miss me, not is Quinn speaking. Her concern was being seen. Even ruined, Patricia still believed appearance was the emergency. I forwarded the recording to Ruth and Whitfield. Then I logged it. October 9th, 9:06 p.m. Request for $4,000. No inquiry concerning children. I did not reply. 8 months earlier, Patricia could reorganize my week with one phone call. Now her voice felt like weather. I noted it, prepared for it, and continued living. The following morning, Sadie found me packing lunches. Was that Mom? Yes. Is she coming? No. Did she ask about us? I stopped cutting strawberries. Children deserved truth, but not every cruel detail. She asked for money. Sadie looked toward the door. For the plane? I don't know. She stood very still. Then she walked to the purple backpacks and removed both juice boxes. She placed them in the refrigerator. It was not unpacking, but it was the first thing she had taken out. 2 days later, Ruth called. Derek had been detained while trying to renew his immigration status on the island. The federal warrant appeared in the system. Authorities took him into custody. Their entry permissions were revoked. The accounts were frozen completely. The Caribbean, Ruth said, had stopped being a refuge. Where is Patricia? Missing from her lawyers. What does that mean? It means nobody can reach her. I looked toward the hallway. Silence from Patricia was never peace. It was preparation. Her husband was detained. Her money was gone. Her public identity had collapsed. Her lawyers were unpaid. Her mother finally admitted the truth. Only one part of her former life remained outside federal control. 2 7-year-old girls sleeping beneath my roof. Ruth heard the silence on my end. She may come back, she said. For them? For whatever they can do for her. That evening, I checked the locks twice. I reviewed the guardianship order. I moved Patricia's lawyer's letter into the front pocket of my notebook. For the first time, I understood that custody was not merely shelter. It meant standing between 2 children and the person who had always called possession love. Then I sat beside the girls while they built a crooked Lego tower on the rug. Quinn placed a tiny plastic door at the bottom. Sadie removed it. The bad people can come through doors, she explained. Quinn thought for a moment, then rebuilt the wall without one. I almost told them houses needed doors. Instead, I watched them seal the entrance, because somewhere beyond the ocean, their mother had lost everything. And I knew she would soon remember the 2 things she believed still belonged to her. November brought colder mornings and a new word into the case file. Permanency. Marisol said it carefully at my kitchen table, while Sadie and Quinn worked on spelling words nearby. Until then, every official document had treated my home like a waiting room. Temporary placement, emergency authority, 90-day review. Words designed to leave every door open. Permanency meant somebody was finally willing to ask whether those doors were hurting the children. Ruth drew the legal path on a yellow pad. First, petition to terminate parental rights, then evidence of abandonment and unfitness. Then, if the court agreed, adoption. How long? I asked. A year, if nothing goes wrong. And if Patricia fights? Longer. I looked toward the hallway where the purple backpacks stood. She will fight, probably. Because she wants them? Ruth's expression did not change, because she wants control of the story. The evidence had become stronger than any of us expected. The airport report, the handwritten note, the medical forms prepared weeks before the trip, the international itinerary, the empty house. The guardianship objection proving Patricia knew exactly where the girls were. Her messages requesting passports and money. The federal indictment, and my notebook. Every meal, appointment, nightmare, school form, therapy session, fever, phone call, and silence had a date. I had written it because charting was how I kept fear from becoming fog. Ruth called it a year of proof. Judges trust patterns, she said. Your sister gave us drama, you gave us Tuesdays. I signed the petition in December. My signature looked small beneath the court heading. Ruth capped her pen. Once we file, she will be notified through criminal counsel. If she returns, do not meet her alone. I have spent my whole life alone with her. That is exactly why I am telling you. Christmas came without Patricia. My mother bought the twins matching red pajamas, then apologized because she remembered Patricia had built an entire online brand around making them match. Sadie chose the pair with snowflakes. Quinn chose stripes. Mom did not argue. It was a tiny thing, but I noticed. She had moved into a small apartment after selling the Quincy house. The fraud recovery might return pennies years later, but the bank wanted dollars now. On moving day, she stood on the front porch where she had once brushed Patricia's hair for the neighbors. "I thought loving the child who needed me loudly meant I loved the quiet one enough," she said. I did not forgive everything because she finally named it. But I carried a box to her car. Healing did not always look like an embrace. Sometimes it looked like returning next Tuesday. Mom began coming for dinner once a week. At first, she corrected Sadie's posture and smoothed Quinn's hair before photographs nobody was taking. Then she learned to stop. One Tuesday, Quinn spilled milk across the table. Mom reached for a towel instead of blame. Quinn watched her carefully. "Are you mad?" "No, sweetheart." Mom got mad when things looked messy. My mother froze. Then she wiped the milk and said, "Messy is not the same as bad." I wrote that sentence in the notebook too. In January, Quinn's class held show and tell. She brought a drawing of my condo. 3 stick figures stood beneath a crooked roof. A 4th figure, smaller, was labeled Grandma. There was also an orange cat we did not own. At the top, in enormous purple letters, she had written Aunt Faith's house. Her teacher emailed me because Quinn had spoken for nearly 2 minutes. I taped the picture to the refrigerator at child height. That Sunday, Sadie repacked the purple backpacks. She put the rabbit inside, but no juice boxes. "Why not?" I asked. "She can buy drinks if she comes." It was not forgiveness. It was fatigue. Then, on a gray Tuesday in February, Ruth called instead of emailing. "Patricia landed at Logan last night." I sat down at the nurse's station. "She is here?" "She surrendered by arrangement, arraigned this morning, released with travel restrictions and an ankle monitor." "Where is she staying?" "Your mother's address was proposed. Your mother refused." That surprised me more than the return. "Her lawyer says she wants contact with the girls." "Does the court order allow it?" "Not without DCF supervision." I looked through the window into a hospital room where a child slept while her father held her hand. "What does she really want?" "We will find out." My mother called an hour later. "She came to my apartment," she said. "I did not let her stay." "Did she ask about the girls?" "She asked whether they still looked like her." The question told me everything. That afternoon, I collected Sadie and Quinn from school and said nothing yet. A therapist and caseworker deserved to help with that truth. We went home, made pasta, and built a puzzle on the floor. At 8, I checked the locks. At 8:15, someone knocked. Not the buzzer downstairs, my door. Sadie and Quinn were brushing their teeth. I looked through the peephole and saw camel wool, perfect hair, and a face thinner than I remembered. Patricia stood on my landing 8 months after leaving her daughters at an airport. I opened the door but kept the chain fastened. "You cannot be here." Her smile appeared automatically. "Faith, please, I came to make peace." "Through my locked door?" "I came to give you what you want." For one dangerous second, hope moved before judgment. Permanent custody had occupied every sleepless hour for months. It meant no more 90-day reviews, no more legal language calling the girls temporary, no possibility that a distant parent could reopen their lives whenever it suited her. Patricia saw recognition cross my face and smiled wider. She had always known how to place my deepest wish on a table, attach a price, and make obedience resemble gratitude. Again. Then she lifted a navy legal folder and tapped the adoption papers inside. I told Patricia to wait. Then I closed the door, unfastened the chain, and called Ruth before opening it again. "Speaker on," Ruth said. "Record everything." I placed my phone face down on the kitchen counter and let Patricia inside. She entered with the confidence of someone returning to a stage she once owned. An ankle monitor showed above one boot when she crossed her legs. Patricia looked around my condo under the kitchen light. Her eyes moved over the refrigerator drawings, school calendar, lunchboxes drying beside the sink, and library books beneath the window. "You made it cozy," she said. "Not safe, not home, cozy." She placed the navy folder on my kitchen table. "I am going to make this easy for you. You have never made anything easy for me." Her smile tightened. "You confuse responsibility with punishment, and you confuse abandonment with delegation." Her expression hardened, then warmed again. "I know you are angry, but we both need to think about the girls." She opened the folder. "Consent to adoption. My name appeared above Sadie and Quinn, with tabs marking Patricia's signatures. The document looked like freedom printed on expensive paper. I will consent, she said. No contest, no delays, no hearings that empty your savings. You get permanent custody, eventually adoption, clean and final. What do you want? 2 things. First, tell the prosecutor the airport was a misunderstanding. We arranged childcare. Communication became confused because everyone was traveling. That is a lie. It is interpretation. You canceled my ticket. Derek handled the reservation. You prepared medical forms 3 weeks earlier. Responsible mothers prepare. You left them alone at a gate. For 20 minutes. They thought you were coming back. Her fingers tapped the folder. Faith, the prosecutor does not need your anger. She needs context. And the second thing? Patricia leaned closer. I need several visits with the girls before sentencing. Supervised by DCF? Not if we can avoid that. A few afternoons. The aquarium, lunch, maybe the park. My attorney needs photographs showing that I remain involved. You want to borrow them for sentencing. I want the judge to see that I am a mother. You want the judge to see a photograph. Photographs matter. To you. To everyone. She glanced toward the refrigerator, where Quinn's drawing read Aunt Faith's house in purple letters. I gave birth to them, and then you left them. I was trying to survive. So were they. Patricia pushed the papers toward me. You can protect them by ending this fight tonight. Think about what happens if you refuse. Lawyers, evaluations, years of hearings. What if a judge decides reunification is preferable? What if I change my plea? What if Derek blames everything on me and I fight from prison? You could lose them because you needed to feel righteous. I imagined Sadie being told to pack again, Quinn crawling beneath another shelf, a court reopening the door after we taught the girls to sleep without watching it. Patricia saw me hesitate. You want them, she whispered. I am giving them to you. My hand moved toward the folder. Then I heard Sadie laugh down the hall. It was an ordinary sound. That stopped me. Not fury, not justice. The ordinary life Patricia wanted to purchase with a lie. If I agreed, every Tuesday dinner would stand on her version of the airport. Every school form would rest on a false statement. The girls might never know, but I would teach them that truth could be traded when family offered enough. Patricia had taught them love was something adults performed when useful. I would not make dishonesty the foundation of their safety. I pulled my hand back. No, Patricia blinked. You did not read it. I understand the price. The price is one conversation. The price is telling the government you did not abandon them. I am offering you everything. You are offering me what you no longer have the right to sell. Her face changed. The camera-ready sister disappeared. You ungrateful martyr. Her voice rose. You spent your life waiting for a chance to take something from me. I wanted a sister. You wanted my life. I wanted you to stop handing me the parts you did not want. She stood so quickly the chair scraped the floor. Do you know what they will do to me? Consequences are not something I am doing to you. You could help. I am helping your daughters. They are my daughters. Then say their birthdays. Patricia froze. She looked toward the hallway. Do not play games. What did Quinn wear on her first day of school? Faith, what food does Sadie refuse to eat now? This is ridiculous. What wakes Quinn at night? You have had them for months. Of course you know their routines. That is what being their mother required. The key turned in the front door. My mother stepped inside carrying groceries. Sadie and Quinn came behind her in winter coats, talking over each other. Then they saw Patricia. Silence filled the condo. Patricia's arms opened automatically. My babies. Neither girl moved. Sadie stepped beside me and took my hand. Quinn stared at Patricia, then at the papers. Patricia smiled harder. Come here. Mommy missed you. Sadie's fingers tightened around mine. Are you staying for dinner? She asked. Not where were you, not why did you leave. A scheduling question for a visitor. Patricia's face flickered. Then Quinn spoke, clear and calm. This is Aunt Faith's house. Patricia looked past her at the drawing on the refrigerator. Then she saw the purple backpacks beside the door. She recognized them immediately. Sadie had kept them packed for 8 months. Patricia's mouth opened, but nothing came out. I slid the unsigned papers toward her. You were right about one thing, I said. Someone should be taking care of the kids. Patricia looked at her daughters, and for the first time, no camera existed to tell her what expression to wear. Patricia stood motionless for several seconds, staring at the two girls as if she expected recognition to arrive late. It did not. Sadie stayed beside me. Quinn moved closer to my mother. The unsigned adoption papers remained on the table between us, their blue tabs bright beneath the kitchen light. Patricia reached for her handbag. "You have no idea what you are doing," she said. "I know exactly what I am refusing." She looked at Mom. "Tell her." For most of our lives, those two words had been enough. My mother would translate Patricia's cruelty into fear, her entitlement into need, and my resistance into selfishness. This time, Mom set the grocery bag on the counter. "You left them," she said. Patricia's face sharpened. "You know why. I know what you told me. I also know what you did. You lost money, and now you need someone to blame." "I lost a house," Mom said quietly. "They lost their mother." The room changed. Patricia looked from Mom to me, then toward the hallway where the purple backpacks stood like witnesses. For 1 second, I saw something almost human move across her face. Not remorse exactly, recognition perhaps. The awareness that the people she had arranged around herself for years were no longer standing in their assigned places. Then the performance returned. "You will regret this," she said. "Maybe," I answered, "but I will regret the truth, not a lie I told for you." She left without taking the papers. The door clicked shut. No one chased her. Sadie looked at the table. Was she giving us away? I crouched in front of her. She was trying to make a deal. "Are we the deal?" "No." Quinn pointed toward the papers. "Then throw them away." I wanted to. Instead, I sealed them in an evidence envelope for Ruth. The next morning, I gave Agent Whitfield the recording from my phone. The conversation lasted 11 minutes. He asked whether Patricia had offered adoption consent in exchange for changing my statement. Yes. Did she request unsupervised contact for photographs before sentencing? Yes. Did you agree to either request? No. He stopped the recorder. That may matter. I thought of the notebook in my bag. Tuesdays matter too. He smiled faintly. By April, Derek's case collapsed under bank records, wire transfers, and testimony from investors who had once called him a friend. He pleaded guilty to wire fraud and money laundering. The judge sentenced him to 9 years and ordered restitution that would probably outlive his ability to pay it. Patricia held out 6 more weeks. Her attorneys argued that she had been a promotional face, not a financial decision-maker. Then prosecutors produced transfers carrying her electronic signature, messages directing Derek to delay withdrawals, and videos in which she personally promised investors that their money was secured by properties the company had never owned. The kitchen recording ended the illusion that she had returned for her daughters. In May, Patricia accepted a plea agreement. 30 months in federal custody, 3 years of supervised release, restitution. I did not attend sentencing. That morning, Sadie and Quinn had their second-grade spring concert. Sadie played the recorder too loudly. Quinn missed half the notes because she kept checking whether I was watching. I watched every second. My mother came with Dana. We sat in the second row and applauded until the twins covered their ears, laughing. Some victories belong in courtrooms. Ours sounded like 20 children playing the wrong note together. The termination hearing took place in June, 1 year and 4 days after Logan Airport. Ruth organized the evidence into binders. The airport report, Patricia's handwritten note, the prepared medical forms, the one-way itinerary, the empty house photographs, the guardianship objection, the passport request, the demand for money, the indictment, the kitchen recording, and my notebook. 369 days of meals, nightmares, school pickups, therapy sessions, medical visits, spelling tests, fevers, arguments, jokes, and Tuesdays. Patricia appeared by video from the federal facility. Her hair was shorter, her face looked smaller without careful lighting. The judge asked whether she intended to contest termination. Her lawyer leaned toward her. Patricia stared into the camera. For a moment I thought she would fight, simply because surrender had never been part of her vocabulary. Then she looked down. No. Derek did not contest either. The judge reviewed the findings slowly. Abandonment, prolonged absence, criminal conduct, failure to provide support, and conduct inconsistent with the children's safety and welfare. Parental rights are terminated, she said. The words were formal and quiet. Sadie and Quinn were not in the courtroom. Ruth had insisted they spend the day at school. I was grateful. A child should not have to listen while adults legally measure how completely a parent failed. Outside, I stood on the courthouse steps and waited to feel victorious. Instead, I felt grief. Not for the mother Patricia had been. For the mother the girls deserved and would never receive. Ruth joined me. You did not win this today, she said. You won it every ordinary day she chose not to return. What happens now? We file for adoption. The papers took another 3 months. Background checks were updated, home visits repeated, references interviewed, my finances examined. The court wanted proof that permanence could survive ordinary pressure. I gave them everything. In September, the adoption hearing was scheduled for a Thursday morning. I circled the date on the kitchen calendar. Sadie studied it. Does that mean we are staying? If the judge approves it? Quinn frowned. We already stay. Sadie looked toward the purple backpacks. For the first time, neither of them checked whether the juice boxes inside were fresh. That night, after they were asleep, I stood beside those bags and understood that legal permanence and emotional permanence did not arrive together. A judge could close a case with one signature. A child closed it differently, slowly, by deciding there was finally no emergency waiting beyond the door. The adoption hearing lasted 27 minutes. Dana cried before the judge entered. My mother cried when Sadie asked whether she could choose a new middle name. Quinn did not cry at all. She sat beside me in a navy dress, swinging her feet beneath the chair, studying the courtroom as if she were deciding whether it deserved her trust. The judge reviewed the file, then looked at the twins. Do you understand what adoption means? Sadie nodded seriously. It means Aunt Faith cannot return us like library books. The judge removed her glasses. That is one way to describe it. Quinn leaned toward the microphone. We already live with her. The judge smiled. That may be the strongest argument in this courtroom. She signed the order. No music played. Nothing flashed. My name became theirs in black ink, and the life we had built quietly became official. Outside, Dana took photographs nobody posed for. In every picture, someone was blinking, laughing, or looking away. They were perfect. That evening, we ordered pizza and ate it on the living room floor. My mother brought a cake with 3 different flowers because matching decorations no longer felt necessary. After bedtime, I passed the girls' room and stopped. Sadie was kneeling beside the purple backpacks. She removed the pajamas and placed them in the dresser. She set Quinn's rabbit on the pillow, carried the old juice boxes to the kitchen, and returned with empty hands. What are you doing? I asked. Putting our stuff away. She folded both backpacks flat and placed them on the closet shelf. Quinn watched from bed. What if we need them? Sadie looked at me before answering. We know where home is now. That was the ceremony. No judge saw it. No lawyer recorded it. No reporter asked for a statement. But that was the moment the airport finally released them. Today, the refrigerator holds a school photograph beneath the lighthouse magnet. Sadie is missing a front tooth. Quinn's collar is crooked. Both girls are laughing because the photographer sneezed. Patricia would have hated it. Nothing is centered, nobody is performing. It is my favorite thing I own. For 34 years, I believed love was measured by how quickly I solved someone else's emergency. Patricia taught me to confuse being useful with being valued. Her daughters taught me the difference. Real love does not leave instructions at an airport. It does not trade children for photographs, signatures, or lighter sentences. Real love arrives on ordinary Tuesdays. It cuts sandwiches differently because twins are not the same person. It checks homework, keeps the hallway light on, tells the truth, and stays when staying costs something. My sister told me I should be taking care of the kids. For once, she was right. She simply never understood that taking care of them would mean protecting them from her. And when those purple backpacks finally left the doorway, I knew the girls had stopped waiting for rescue and started believing in home.